Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. All right, so let's see who we have in here. Okay, Queen Adia, Queen Trina B, Marilyn, Iyama Bay, Hiram X is Black, Woke One. Okay, so listen. I'm so sorry, beautiful Queen. Oh, you're talking to Iyama Bay. Okay, so listen, people. My royals, listen. This video is not going to be as long as the one last night. I clearly got carried away. Okay. This is going to be like half an hour. But so listen, we're going to talk some more about the biblical allegories as it pertains to the consciousness and things like that. Okay. Hello, Kenla and Monica and Monique 2C, William, Jeff ATL, Enlighten One. Okay. So Craig and Flow Records. Okay. All right. So we're in the house deep, right? Okay. So like I said, I'm not going to be on here long, people. I have a lot of work to do, but we are going to talk some more about the pineal gland and the biblical allegories that I was discussing with you guys last night. Okay. So let me see if I can pick up right where I left off. Now I'm going from my notes. Now, someone asked me in the comment section from last night's video, what book was I reading from? It's not a book. These are actually notes that I've compiled because, I've studied this stuff for years, right? I'm a college professor. So I studied this stuff for years and everything. And I get information from different books, but specifically from different scholars. One of my favorite scholars who discusses these things is Santos Bonacci. Okay, his name is Santos, and that's Santos, Santos Bonacci, Bonacci. Okay, that's one of my favorite people to learn esoteric things from, things about metaphysics and all of that, right? I have a degree in metaphysics, by the way, but also a guy by the name of Bill Donahue. Not Phil Donahue from the old talk show, but his name is Bill Donahue. He does a lot of talk and lectures on the biblical allegories as well. So I got some of my things that I learned from him. Okay, and a lot of it was just other books and things that I've researched over the years. And what I do is I compile notes on these things and I always save them in files and stuff like that. You like Santos Howard? Yes, absolutely. So with that all being said, so let's get started. Let's get back into it, okay? So as you know, last night I talked to you guys about the matrix and I broke that down and explained to you, the symbolisms in there and the, what's the word I'm looking for? The subliminal messaging and all of that stuff, right? And how people don't want to change and how some of us realize, or some of us don't seem to realize that everything must change. Nothing can inevitably stay the same, okay? And the one part that I told you all specifically pertaining to that was when the guy kept meeting up with the agent. He'd already left the matrix and gone into the reality and seen things for what they truly were, but he wasn't satisfied because he missed living in the false reality. And as he was sitting there talking to the agent, he told the agent, I know the steak isn't real, but it just tastes so good. That's how many people are in life, okay? As I told you that on last night. So with that all being said, here's another thing too. I want to talk to you all about this book that I read years ago. And I wrote down a summary of it. It's called Who Moved My Cheese? Has anyone read that book ever? It's a short book. I actually read it in a day. It's like 98 pages long. It's called Who Moved My Cheese? Change for the better is good. Absolutely, Melanated Brown. So, yes or no, has anyone, who's that saying they want to be a mod? Hold on. I'm taking applications now. Hold on. Okay, Monica Matthews. Let me write your name down. And then I'll make mods for this channel after I do the Queen Adia says yes in school a long time ago. Okay, so we're going to be talking about that book, Who Moved My Cheese? Because hey, that is a very relevant book. Although it was written simplistically, it is a very relevant book, and it really talks about how some people get complacent. They don't want to change, right? They're so used to doing the same old every day. All right, Princess, can you put me for her mod on this channel? Yes, I absolutely can. CH464. Thank you for asking. Okay. Let me see if you know what? I might be able to do that right now, people. Actually, if I can open up this other chat. Let me see if I can open this other chat up really quick. Bear with me just a moment, people. And also, for those of you who watched that video that I posted, that I uploaded, the different stages of consciousness, I actually didn't realize that I had simply posted an 11-minute clip. I made that clip for something else I was working on, and I saved it on my Google Drive. So when I uploaded, I didn't realize it was just a clip. So I have uploaded the full video in its entirety now, okay? It's like an hour and 16 minutes or something like that, for those of you who haven't seen the full video. And the only reason I noticed I did that is because thankfully some of you all put in the comment section that it seemed as though the video cut off. And so I went back to check and see what happened. So yeah, that's what it was. Okay. Okay. Duplicate stream key. Select a new key. Okay, I don't know why this other chat isn't working. So anyway, I'm not gonna worry about that right now, but I will make you guys mods. Okay, as soon as the video is done. Queen, I want to mod. Okay, Rain Love. Rain Love. And listen, here's the thing, people. I enjoyed the video from last night, Queen. Thank you, Monica Beloved. So listen, people. We have to have a meeting of the mods for Authentic Black Goddess TV. So I want to have a meeting for that channel on Saturday. So those of you who mod on that channel that haven't sent me your email information, please send me your email information, okay, at least by Friday, because I want to have a meeting on that channel or about that channel on Saturday around, I'm going to say around 1 o'clock Saturday, okay? And I'm going to be doing it on StreamYard, right? It's like Zoom, but I'm going to be doing it on StreamYard, and I'm going to send you a link. I'm going to email you the link. And so at the appropriate time, you just log on. You just, join the live, okay? You sent yours. Thank you, Queen Trina B. Hello, Silent D. Okay, so let's get into it, people. Let's get into it. Okay, so now, as I said, I was talking about the biblical allegories last night and how they pertain to the mind. Now, I'm just going to give a brief overview for those who weren't here. I talked about how the crucifixion that they talk about in the Bible was really an allegory, and that pertains to the crucifixion that occurs both in the universe, the cosmic crucifixion, and the one that occurs within us, which is in the mind, which raises you to a higher level of consciousness, brings you into your Christ-like self, or as some people call it, your God-like self. And it's when you're using the Kundalini energy, and you're actually activating the pineal gland, okay? So with that all being said, I'm going to read you some biblical scripture, and then I'm going to tell you what that actually means as far as it pertains to the allegories. Okay, so now where I left off, I do believe, was when I was talking about Jesus and Barabbas, right? So when they brought the king brought Jesus out and Barabbas out and asked the crowd of people, who do you want me to save? Because they were both set for death and they were going to be executed. So the king asked them, who do you want me to save? Who do you want me to spare? And the crowd started cheering for Barabbas. Now, Barabbas was a mean person. He was a killer. He'd done all these crimes and stuff. And surely he was worthy of death if they were going by, the crimes. But Jesus had not done anything except tried to save and heal people. But they wanted to kill him because they didn't believe that he was truly the Son of God, right? So the people were all yelling to save Barabbas. Now, Barabbas represented the left hemisphere of the consciousness in the brain, which that part of your brain, the left hemisphere, that represents the lower vibrational feelings that people have. That is basically people that are caught up in traditions and cultural norms and things like that. Okay, like, celebrate these pagan holidays. Yeah, that's the left hemisphere of the brain that has you doing all of those things. The right side of the brain, the right hemisphere, is the higher mind. Okay, that is the side of the mind that takes you, the brain that takes you to your higher self. That is also the part where you get your divine feelings and your divine consciousness and your spirituality from the right side of the brain. So Barabbas, he was evil and wicked, and he represented the left side of the brain. And that's why the crowd was cheering for him, because he was the bad things that they deal in, like ego, right? Pride goes before the fall. The left side of the brain, that's where you hold your ego at, right? Some people are so prideful. People that are haters, okay? Those people operate more so from the left side of their brain, okay? And so he represented the left hemisphere, and Jesus in that allegory represented the right hemisphere, which is the divine consciousness of the higher brain and mind. Now, the crowd also asked Barabbas, as he represents they cheered and asked for him because he represents the lower mind. There is something called a crowd mentality, okay, whereby individual choice is given up to the behavior of the masses. So crowds again refer to our cardinal side, okay? The mind never wants to give up on the world, and so it will always vote for Barabbas. And in the same way, the mind does not look forward to the stillness of meditation. Now, someone just told me last night, a good friend of mine told me, they were trying to meditate last night, but they could not quiet their mind. They couldn't separate, be absent of thoughts. They couldn't stop thinking about all the things that are going on in the world, the things that they experience, at work, with friends and family. They couldn't get rid of all those things. They couldn't tune all of those things out. Now, it's very important that you can tune those things out, people, because again, I told you, all of that stuff that you think about that's negative. Those are all low vibrational, and those are pandemonium. Pandemonium is chaos. Pandemonium, as I told you last night, pan means many, right? The prefix pan means many. Demonium has the word demon, literally the word demon in the middle of the word pandemonium. Okay, so many demons. Many demons do what? They create chaos. You can only rise to your higher level of consciousness if you free yourself from the chaos, the pandemonium, i.e. the demons, and quiet your mind so that you can reach to your Christ-like self or your God-like self. Now, with that all being said, the scourging that they talked about, right? Oh, and let me say this. They said that the crowd was yelling for Barabbas, right? And they took on the crowd mentality. Now, let me tell you something. When I was going to school for criminal justice, one of the things that we learned about was the mob mentality. The mob mentality, the crowd mentality. It's the same thing. Here's why. When people are by themselves and it's just one of you, you will be less likely to engage. I mean, if you're just a normal, good person, you will be less likely to engage in nefarious acts. You would just, if you're just by yourself, you're likely to do the right thing. But when you get in a crowd, a group setting, a mob mentality, there's a bunch of you, you will be easier to persuade to do something wicked. Because if everybody else, that's why they call it peer pressure. Because if everyone else around you is doing dirt, they can talk you into it, commit crimes. Yes, absolutely, Mary. They can talk you into it because why? Some people feel pressured. Some people don't want people looking at them funny or feeling, they don't want people, clowning them or whatever, saying they're chicken, they're afraid. Pride, that's why, because of your pride. Your pride doesn't want people calling you a coward, saying you were afraid, or saying that you might snitch because you didn't do what they did, right? And so pride goes before the fall, like I told you. So a lot of these things have to do with ego. People feel compelled to go along, to get along when they're in a group setting. Not all people, because I don't, many of you may not, but some people, they feel emboldened when they're in a crowd, right? Like when you see a gang of police attack one black person unarmed and beat them to pummel them down to the ground and all of that. If that officer was by themselves, they likely wouldn't have done that. If it was just one-on-one, mano-a-mano. But gangs also, right? Many gangs, they travel in packs. They will all do something nefarious when they're all together. Maybe if one of them was by themselves, they wouldn't even have joined a gang. But usually people are persuaded by a crowd, a mob, okay? The crowd mentality. And so I also told you about the part about the 7 seals that they speak of in Revelations, when they say, and I saw in the right hand of him that sat on the throne a book written within, and on the backside sealed with 7 seals, right? And the 7 seals is the 7 chakras. Now you have to cleanse your chakras, right? Your chakras are your energy field that surrounds you and protects you. You have 7 chakras. And when you cleanse your chakras, you know, they're fine-tuned. And what I do, because I have a holistic doctor. Now, I'm not a medical doctor, and I'm not giving you advice. I'm just telling you what I do. I have a medical or a holistic doctor. And so every now and then I go to her and she does acupuncture on me. Okay, she does acupuncture because that's, if you have like any blockages in your chakras or anywhere in your body, that she uses the acupuncture to open that up. Okay, so I have acupuncture done every now and then. All right, so in Matthew 27, it says, then the soldiers of the governor took Jesus into the common hall and gathered unto him the whole band of soldiers. In this allegory, Jesus is flesh, the part of us that must die so that Christ can be born within us. Remember, I also told you last night how Christ prayed for the crucifixion to pass him. He asked the Most High, why hast thou forsaken me? And that was because that was the human side of him, because he was of the spirit, but he was in the flesh, as I told you. Okay, now, so I'm going to skip down because I read all that last night. In Matthew 27:28, it says, and they stripped him and put him on a scarlet robe. That means he was naked. And what does him being naked represent? What does that stand for? It says it is to have all the ego structures of life removed, just stripped away. Strip yourself of ego so you can just be a humble person, someone who has humility, who's not always out here trying to outdo people, who's not always trying to keep up with the Joneses, who's not always concerning themselves with what other people think. If you pay attention to people who are prideful and full of ego, they always care about what other people think. When you see people out here wearing all the name brand clothes, Louis Vuitton and, you know, Fendi, Gucci and all that stuff, why do you think they're buying those things? They buy those things for other people to see them in it and for other people to think that they're somebody special, that they have so much money. They're not doing that for themselves. Okay? And so he was stripped naked because that shows the ego structures, and you have to have that removed from your life. Those things that we cling to have to be stripped away. This may even come down to breaking family ties if they are coming between us and our spiritual path. Sometimes you have to move on from people. Sometimes people aren't on the same journey with you, and some people are on the same journey with you, but at some point they get off. They stray away. And so you have to let those people go. You cannot continue to hold on and to cling to things and people that God is trying to tear you away from. Everybody wasn't meant to go on your journey with you. Some people you have to leave behind. Okay? They have to find their own way. Remember, I told you last night, the truth is within you. You can't always tell other people the truth. You can't show them the truth. You can try to lead them down the path so that they can find it for themselves, but every individual must know and find the truth on their own. Okay? So then it goes on to say, in the story of Adam and Eve, they were naked as they did not have any worldly attachments. And when they abandoned their spiritual path to gain knowledge from the tree, they had to cover themselves with things from the earth. Again, this covering refers to attachments to earthly or worldly things. So many people are caught up in earthly and worldly things. Are we not? So many people love money. They will do anything for it, right? Some people love expensive things, fancy cars, flashy diamonds, gold chains, you name it. Those are all worldly things. Those things mean you no good. You can't take them with you when you leave here. You know what you should be? Rather than wanting to be rich with all of these fancy materialistic things that you can't even take with you, they're not going to get you into the afterworld, and they're not going to get you into the spiritual realm, you know, to live, to be able to come back and be a guide to your people, any of those things. They're not going to do any of those things. What you need to be rich in is in spirit and consciousness. You need to be spending more time focusing on your inner self, not your outer self. The outer self that people see, the facade that many people put on. You know, there are some people who come on social media just to, to brag or to make people think their life is something it isn't. Do you know how many people on social media are not who they say they are? How many people on social media, their life is nothing like how they portray it? Let me tell you something. I know somebody one time, they would always post their relationship stuff on social media, right? I mean, anytime they were dating somebody new, and you always knew because they'd be posting pictures and videos of them and this person, and then all of a sudden you didn't see that person anymore. And then maybe a month or so later, you'd see them posting them and another person, and then all of a sudden you didn't see that person anymore. First of all, I think that's kind of silly when people do that because or to be seen and need attention. Yes, attention whores, no less, of course. That's where you get all these so-called Instagram models. They're not models because, for one, Instagram is a social media platform. It is not a modeling agency, okay? That's what it isn't, all right? So they're not Instagram models, but that's the term they've coined for themselves. So yes, attention whores. This is what these people are. And at the end of the day, a lot of people put up false facades and stuff. Like I was saying, I had known this person who would post all these pictures, like they're traveling, they're having all this fun, they're doing all these things, they're with this person and that person or whatever. And then, like their life is so perfect. And then months later, I had a talk with this person and everything was going wrong with them. And I was so shocked because I was thinking, that's not what you post on your page though. On your Facebook page, it looks like your life is so happy and carefree. You're traveling the world. You're all in love. You're doing this. You're doing that. And no, it was all a facade. So many people do that, and they do that because they care what other people think, and they try to present themselves as what they are not, as if their life is so happy. But let me tell you something I learned from that. You know what happy people don't do? Happy people don't put all of their business on social media. If you go on any of my social media platforms, you will not see my personal life all over there. You can't tell who the queen's dating, if the queen even has a man. You can't tell anything because I don't put any of that on there. You can't tell if the queen's going out of town, traveling, doing this, that, and the third, because I don't post all of that stuff on there. Now, if I ever was to post, a vacation picture or somewhere that I traveled, you know when I would post it? Probably a month after I actually went, because this is something that I think is stupid too. Now, I have a cousin who does this, and she won't stop, though me and my uncle have both told her it's crazy. She posted on her Facebook when she was going out of town, going out of the country, in fact. She posted her and her husband were going out of the country, right? I didn't think that was smart because many people know where she lives, okay? And she does pretty good for herself. And you can't trust everybody. So the last thing I think anyone should do is tell people where you are, okay? Yeah, so when she posted, she was at the airport. She posted when they boarded the plane. She posted when they were coming back. She posted while they were on their vacation. So I thought that was also crazy. So me and my uncle both thought it was crazy. My uncle, in fact, said something to her about it and told her he didn't think it was a good idea, right? So he didn't think it was a good idea. And that, in fact, you should not do stuff like that because people know you're not at home and they can go there and rob you or anything. And she was like, oh, okay, thank you for telling me. And the next time she went on a trip, she posted it again. So clearly she's not heeding these warnings, okay? But so many people don't realize that there are people who sit back and watch those things and they will go and rob you. It was maybe a few months back, there was an Uber driver who was taking people to the airport, and it was like several people in the same neighborhood. He went back and robbed all of them. And I don't remember how he got caught. But so people clearly sit back and watch. Social media is where the devil lurks. Yes, social media is the devil. That's what I call it. So that all being said, people like to show off and showcase or whatever. That's what a lot of people like to do, to their detriment. And that is all due to ego and pride. Now, so also, the scarlet robe that they put on him. The scarlet robe, the color scarlet is a mysticism. It means divine life. So here it is referring to wearing a divine or standing in higher consciousness, right? Once your old attachments have been shed, once you've gotten rid of the old clothes, the things that are holding you back. Like, for example, let's just say when you're in your youth, when you're like 20 to 30 years old, a lot of people go out partying. I'm just giving examples because this is like this is like shedding your old clothes, right? Not literally your clothes, but like I said, this is an allegory. So the point of it is when you're shedding your old clothes and getting rid of the garments that are holding you back, that's like when you were young. You may have gone out and partied every weekend. You may have gone out and drank and had a good time. Some of you may even have done drugs every now and then. Not saying that you were on drugs or addicted or whatever, but I'm just saying when people are young, people do a lot of things they don't do when they get older. So some people were going out and doing drugs, right? Some people were sleeping around. Some people are just doing all types of things, maybe even some shady characters. But as you get older and you evolve and you start, becoming a more mature person, you shed those things and you no longer do those, right? So that's what they're talking about here. That's what they're referencing. So Proverbs 31:21 says, she is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. She, in this case, means the inner spirit of the person. The snow, that equals the water or the truth, which is bound lightly or tightly due to the cold from outside. Now the household of scarlet, protected from that on the outside as she is cloaked in the divine. Someone who is protected from the outside world through access through the divine consciousness and meditation. Despite what happens to us through the senses, we will always have something more permanent to go back to if we are in contact with the divine within. Okay, so let me explain that. For example, someone protected from the outside world, someone who has divine consciousness that they achieve through meditation. Let me tell you something. That does protect you from the outside world. Because let me tell you something. There's people out here who are evil and wicked who want to try to do dirt to you. Have you ever everyone who this has happened to, put a 1 in the chat. Have you ever had someone who you knew didn't like you, didn't wish you well, and in fact wished you the worst, and they set up traps? They tried to do something to hurt you, but it backfired and something bad happened to them? Thank you, Beezilla. Beezilla says, super facts queen. Has any of you ever experienced that? Someone trying to do some dirt to you, but it turned around and the dirt was on them. That's happened to me numerous of times. Yes, okay? Because the thing is this. When you are of a higher level of consciousness and someone's low vibrational, you see, the thing is this. You know how the Bible says God gives us dominion over the land, air, and sea? Yes, these low vibrational entities, when you're a righteous person, when you're a good person, when you vibrate on a higher level of frequency, you have dominion over these low vibrational beings. That is why you should never lower yourself to their standards. Misery loves company. Those type of people, yes, they will not be able to formulate their attacks against you when you are high vibrational. That's what the Bible means when they say no weapon formed against you will prosper. Because when you vibrate so high, they cannot even reach you. Okay? And that's what you have to do. You have to be a high vibrational person. Okay? Let me tell you something. Let me tell you what happened to me one time. Now, this person didn't purposely try to do something low down to me, but they did do something, to me. But it backfired on them, just like I knew it would. You see, when you know that people are going to get their just desserts, you don't have to get revenge. You just sit back and let the universe deal with them. You know what I do for those people? I pray for them, but I don't pray for their well-being. I pray for the prayer that David prayed for his enemies, right? The prayer that David prayed for their enemies. Or I'll ask the Most High, I'll say, God, I know that whatever goes around comes around. I know that we all reap what we sow. And if they have anything good or bad, please can they have whatever they are owed sooner rather than later. Now, I don't know if they deserve something good. They could deserve something good or bad for all I know. But when somebody does something nefarious to me, I always pray that prayer for them. That whatever they have owed to them, God, can you please give it to them sooner than later? That's what I do. But so let me tell you what happened to this girl. So, I help people that are in college, taking courses and all of that. I help them with their homework, a lot of them, right? I have people that I know and I help them with their classes and things like that. I'm not talking about students that I taught. I'm talking about like friends or people that I just know in general. Okay, so they need help with their homework or whatever. I help them with their homework and this, that, and the third. Well, there was this one girl. She wanted me to do her work for her. This was years ago, right? So she wanted me to do some work for her. Now, I was in college at the time. Me and her went to the same college. She asked me to do her assignment for her. Now, I used to do her assignments all the time. I mean, not all the time, but a lot in one of our particular classes. So she asked me to do this assignment for her. But mind you, I didn't do it for free. I would make her pay me. I would charge her, right? So with that all being said, that was like my little side hustle while I was in college. So she asked me to do a paper for her. It was a final paper. It was worth 250 points. So I told her, I'm going to do this project, but I'm going to charge you $250. And she agreed to pay that. Now, mind you, that was cheap for what she wanted me to do. She wanted me to write a paper that was 10 pages long, and she wanted me to do a PowerPoint that was 10 slides long. And so I agreed to do it. Now, mind you, all the other work that I had done for her, she got all hundreds, okay? Let's not forget, the queen is smart. I graduated with honors, right? So I was doing all her work in that class, and everything that I did for her, she got 100% on it. Now, when it got time for this last paper, but here's the thing. Every time I would do her paper, I would make sure that she gave me my money before I gave her the work, okay? Tell her, go deposit the money in my bank account, and I'm going to email you the paper, right? So this is how we operated. This one time, when it was her final exam, she called me and she says, I'm sorry, I don't have the money. Now, mind you, the paper was due at Sunday on midnight. So she called me and she says, I'm sorry, I don't have the money. I'm not going to get paid until tomorrow. And she was like, can you just please go ahead and turn the paper in for me, you know? And can you just go ahead and give me the paper so I can turn it in or whatever? So I said, no, you need to give me my money first. I'll give it to you. I'll give you the paper tomorrow. You can turn it in a day late. She says, well, if I turn it in a day late, they're going to take 20 points off of my grade automatically. So I'm thinking, I did all this work. I worked hard on this paper, and I want her to get 100. Now, if they take 20 points, she's going to get an 80, right? And that's going to bring her grade down, but whatever. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'll go ahead and give it to you. You can just pay me tomorrow. So I gave her the paper. I emailed it to her. She got 100. So the next day, I didn't hear from her. So the next day, I didn't hear from her. So after about 3 days passed, I called her. And I said, yeah, what's going on? I said, you haven't put my money in my account. She says, oh, honey, she says, I have to pay my rent. I have to pay my car note. I have to do this. I have to do that. And she's telling me all this stuff that she has to do. Like the queen doesn't have to do the same thing. I'm like, honey, I have to pay my rent too. I have to do this too. I have to do that too. Right? So she was like, well, my sister's supposed to be giving me some money because she was in a car accident. She's supposed to get a settlement. And when she gives me the money from that, I'll pay you. I knew at this point she's not going to give me my damn money. But you know what? I didn't get mad. And the reason I didn't get mad is, wow, the poor mouth talking points. Yes, Beatzilla, yes, right? But let me tell you something. I didn't get mad. You know why? Because I blamed myself. I should never have given her the work first. That was my fault. So I was mad at myself, not her. But I said, you know what? It's okay. She's going to need me before I need her. Because I needed her for nothing. But I knew she's going to need me to do her work again. And I'm not going to ever do it again. All right? So what ended up happening was this. She never gave me that money. The semester ended. And we started a new semester. Okay? This time I'm not in her class. Well, she ends up calling me like maybe within a month of the semester starting. And she says to me, she says, you know, I've never asked you to do anything for free. But could you please do me a favor and, you know, do this paper for me for whatever class it was or whatever? And she's like, can you just do it for me, please, or whatever? I never asked you to do anything for free. I said, girl, what do you mean you never asked me to do anything for free? You didn't have to ask me. I did it for free because you never paid me. Now, even though you didn't say the words out of your mouth, can you do this for free? I clearly did it for free. When I gave you the paper and the PowerPoint, you never gave me my money to this day. No, I'm not going to do your work. get somebody else. And so what she ended up doing was she got another one of her friends to do her paper. And guess what happened? You're going to love this. She got one of her other friends to do the paper. She got an F. You know why she got an F? Because the person merely copied and pasted. It was a 10-page paper. All the person did was they copied and pasted stuff off of Google. She got kicked out of school for plagiarism, and she got an F. She literally got kicked out of school. And you know what? That's what she gets. So fast forward, right? Fast forward. Maybe a few years later, her daughter graduates high school, right? And I love her daughter. She's a sweet girl. But so her daughter graduates high school. And so she calls me and she says, her daughter, she tells me her daughter, I'm not going to say her daughter's name, but she tells me her daughter graduated and she wants to apply for this scholarship, right? Or she did apply for the scholarship. But in order to win the scholarship, you have to win the essay contest. So you have to write an essay, right? So with that all being said, she asked me if I will write the paper for her daughter. And then she says, how much will you charge us? It's only a 2-page paper. This is what she says. It's only a 2-page paper. Let me tell you something. Here's the thing. I don't care how many pages the paper is. You see, I don't charge you just by the pages. I charge you by the amount of work, the research, you know what I'm saying? If I have to do any extra reading and all that type of stuff or whatever. So she's telling me it's only 2 pages. But you know what I told her? Because I already knew I wasn't going to do it. I had already told myself I'm never doing anything for her again, ever. And once I say that, I mean it. So even though I loved her daughter was nice and sweet, nice girl. She says, can you write the paper for her? This, that, and the third. She only needs, it's only 2 pages. It's just for her to win the scholarship. Let me tell you something. You know what I told her? I said, first of all, here's the thing. I'm not going to write the paper for your daughter for the first reason. I'm not going to write it. Right. Absolutely, Sidell. Only 2 pages. Ma'am, do it yourself then. Absolutely. Right. But see, she wasn't that smart. She wasn't that smart. And see, I have actually won essay, contests and things like that. Right. Gotten scholarships in the National Honor Society. That's why she would want me to do her work. And she definitely would want me to write that for her daughter who's competing against other students smarter than her, right? Or just as smart for this scholarship. But you know what I told her? I said, yes, she still owes me. Absolutely, Queen Adia. So you know what I told her? I said, listen, I'm not going to do the paper for your daughter. The first reason I'm not going to do it is because it wouldn't be fair. I said, there's other students who are competing for that same scholarship, and they're going to write their papers themselves. Now, some of them, albeit, may get someone else to write it, but there are students who are going to actually write that paper themselves. They have no one to help them. I remember when I was in college, right? When I was a teenager, when I was going out to college, I didn't have anyone to help me. I had to figure things out for myself. And I had to struggle when I was in college. I didn't have a rich family that I came from. I had to struggle. Some days I didn't have food to eat, right? I had to go to the chapel, and the priest at the chapel would give me these things called meal tickets so I could go to the cafeteria to buy food, right? I struggled in college. So I know there's other students who struggle in college. And so my thing was this. I told her I'm not going to do this for her because there's other students who are struggling. There's other students who need that scholarship just as much as she does, if not worse. And it wouldn't be fair to them if me being an adult, right, did her work for her and she won and beat them. That wouldn't sit well with me. And I said, second, if she wants the scholarship, she should honestly and fairly compete for it. Earn it. You should not want someone to give you something. Earn it. And then I told her the last reason I'm not going to do it is because you never paid me for that final project that I did for you. You still owe me $250, and you have the gall, audacity, and couth to ask me to do something else for you. I'm not doing it, right? And so I didn't. And I'll tell you what. So I don't know if her daughter got the scholarship or not, because I didn't talk to her after that. But I wasn't doing it. And as far as she's concerned, Like I said, when she got kicked out of school, and mind you, when she was in school and she wanted me to do that project, she was working on her master's degree in criminal justice. She was working on a master's, okay? Let me tell you something, people. At the end of the day, if you have somebody who's going to college and they every now and then need help with a paper, or maybe they are working full time, because, you know, some people go to college as older, you know, when they're adults and they have children and stuff and a husband and all that. So they can't juggle a whole bunch of things sometimes. Maybe they need you to help them every now and then to do a paper. That's no problem with that. But I'm going to tell you who really gets under my skin is people who ask me to do their entire class. Some people have asked me in the past to do and take their entire class. I'm not going to take your entire damn class. If you can't take your own class, what are you in college for? I don't like slackers. I want you to pay attention to something. If there's people who are going to college and they're cheating their way through and they're getting other people to do their work, what if some of these people are going to school to be doctors? Did you ever think of that? You wonder why they have these malpractice suits? Because some people don't do their own work. They'd rather just pay somebody else to do it, and they don't know shites. And then they end up in a field with a degree that they, in fact, did not earn. I never had respect for that. I never had respect for that. Because when I was a kid, you know why I always made good grades? You know why I was always smart? Why I was always winning spelling bees and national spelling bees and all that kind of stuff? Because when I was a little kid, my mother used to always say, when you go to school, it's competition. Always try to outdo your classmates. Always try to be the best at what you do. And that's what I always did. That's what I always did. We were smart. If we came home with a C, we were in big trouble. We were in big trouble. I remember I was in the 6th grade. I made a C in my social studies class because I was in there clowning around, cracking all the jokes, getting into fights. I beat up a boy named William Denny. I mean, I was just doing too much. I made a C in that class. When my teacher, Mrs. Dunn, she was a black lady. I remember she had all this big, thick hair. It was her real hair, too. People weren't even wearing weave back then like they are now. But I remember when that lady gave me my report card and I saw that C on there, oh, you know what I did? I knew I was going to get it. I was thinking to myself, when I get home, and I had to walk home from school because I lived in the area, and all I was thinking was, this is going to be a long walk home. I was in the 6th grade, and I remember thinking, William Denny got the beat. Yes, I beat his behind under the desk. I beat him under the desk, okay? I literally did. But don't think it was all peaches and cream, because the next year in the 7th grade, a guy named Scott Tinker beat my behind, okay? Gave me a black eye, all right? But anyway, so clearly I'm getting off topic. So I'm going to tell you this and get back to what I'm talking about. But so long story short, that's what my mother always taught us. And so I always competed and tried to do good work. At the end of the day, when people stiff you, the lesson in this is when people stiff you the first time, don't ever let them stiff you again, right? Because I'm sure your grandparents told you as mine did. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Okay? So I already made up my mind. I'm not doing anything else for her ever again. Now let's get back on topic here. Because you know the queen easily gets sidetracked telling all these stories and whatnot, right? Okay, so now this part is the crucifixion part 2. I'm going to skip over to this. Okay, so now remember I told you about the Jesus being crucified on Mount Calvary, which is from the Latin word calvaria, which means the brain, right? The skull. Not the brain, the skull. Okay, so now it says, as mentioned in part 1, the Gospel of Matthew says the crucifixion is said to have taken place in Golgotha. Matthew 27:33 says, and when they were come unto a place called Golgotha, that is to say, a place of a skull. So that's letting you know that the crucifixion occurs inside of our minds. Okay, now Golgotha is another symbolic place indicating that the crucifixion is in fact an internal process. Now the testator in Hebrews 9:16, for there it says, for where a testament is, there must also of necessity be the death of a testator. A testator, that is representing Jesus, because the testator, Jesus, must die. So there must be the death of a testator. So Jesus is the testator in this scenario. Testa, the part of the word testator, testa, the root word, testa, that's the often thick or hard outer coat of a seed, similar to a skull, okay? Like a walnut. Right? No, not a walnut. That's a nut. But it's like the outer core of a seed. But you could say a walnut if we were talking about nuts. But they're using an example of a seed. Okay? Now, it implies that Jesus dies inside of us and becomes the Christ when we have contacted with him within through our meditation. And then the testament or the Torah is revealed to us. So basically, when you get the Kundalini energy, when you get the Christ within, when you achieve the higher level of consciousness and your energy rises from the solar plexus up to the optic thalamus and activates the pineal gland, when that process happens, and there's 12 times a year that this process can occur. This process occurs once every month, or shall I say it can occur once every month. But in order for this to happen, you have to eat clean, fruits and vegetables, no meats. You have to drink plenty of water. You have to abstain from sex. You have to be living like the I'm not gonna say the priests, because we know some stories about priests. I'm gonna say like the monks. Okay, you have to be very clean in your eating. Not out here doing nefarious things or whatever, not smoking and drinking, none of that, no consumption of alcohol, drugs, tobacco, none of that stuff, right? This also makes you very intuitive, just so you know. Okay, so that's when you rise into your Christ-like self, when you become your God-like self, which is why they say the Most High, because you're at your highest level of consciousness, like I told you. Okay, so now it implies that Jesus died inside of us and becomes the Christ that we have contacted through our meditation, and then the testament or the Torah is revealed to us. Now, Luke 23:33 says, and when they were come to the place which is called Calvary, there they crucified him and the malefactors on the right hand and the other on the left. Calvary, Latin Calvaria, the skull, as I told you. But in Greek, the word Calvaria, or in Greek, the word Calvary means cranion. Cranion, Kranion, cranion, like cranium. So it's still talking about the skull, cranium. Now, Mount Calvary, symbolizing the rising of the Kundalini energy up the spine to the high place, the mount, the skull, Calvary. An explanation of the spiritual process of the crucifixion is also detailed in this book that you all should read. It was written by Alice Bailey. It is called From Bethlehem to Calvary. And that's a good book. Now, Matthew 27:32. And as they came out, they found a man of Cyrene, Simon by name. And him they compelled to bear the cross. For those of you that remember Simon in the story, Simon helped Jesus to carry his cross, right? Now, Simon of Cyrene carried the cross up the hill. This is representative of the process of opening up the third eye. Okay, opening up the third eye is one that we have to do ourselves. Christ cannot do everything for us. We must play our part in the process. And in the one hand, we have to have one pointed determination to walk the spiritual journey. So Simon carrying the cross and walking up the hill, that was him walking, taking the spiritual journey, right? But this also involves a complete surrender to the spirit once we sit in meditation. So you have to be willing. When how I told you last night that the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. But in order for you to achieve this Christ-like consciousness, you have to be willing to give up worldly things, earthly things, drinking, smoking, sleeping around, anything that you're doing that you have no business doing, telling lies, hustling people, hating on people, right? For some people, that's hard to stop. Okay, so Christ will wait in the fornix of our tomb, which is the skull, right, until resurrection time. Now, Luke 23:44 says, and it was about the 6th hour, and there was a darkness over all the earth until the 9th hour. It says there are 12 disciples, and one betrayed Jesus, and the 12 disciples represent the cranial brains, or the cranial nerves within the brain. There are 12 disciples and one betrayed Jesus. 12 cranial nerves in the brain. That is what the disciples represent. Okay? And so with that all being said, I'm going to show you a picture of this really quick. Share my screen so you can see this. So if you all can see that, these are all of the cranial nerves that are listed, right? All these are listed. That is where they get the story of the 12 disciples. I know some people think all these people in the Bible are real people that really walk the earth. What you should ask yourself, if you think that, is where are their tombs? Where are their headstones? I mean, hey, if we can go and find the ancient Commissions, we can find the tombs of the pharaohs. It was in 2015, I do think they said they found the tomb of Osiris, right? In 2015, I think it was. So if they can find the tombs of the Egyptians and how they were buried, how they had garlic around their necks, how they were mummified and all of that, the ancient Egyptians, they were here over 10,000 years ago. If we can find their remains, why can't you find the remains of Noah, of Jonah, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? I'm just curious. So people don't want to believe that these things are of an allegory. And you can't tell some people any different. Just like the person who was in here trolling last night. What was his name? Kingdom of Judah are the real Negro slaves? Yeah, him. He's a Hebrew Israelite, and he takes the Bible literally, as many of them do. Okay, so abducens nerve. Okay, this is one of the nerves in the brain, one of the cranial nerves. It's the 6th cranial nerve, as a matter of fact. It controls specific eye movements, vision. Abducens, that's what it's called. Then you have the glossopharyngeal nerve. It's the 9th cranial nerve. It controls the tongue and the mouth, so you can speak. And then that's the 9th hour. The 6th hour is represented by the abducens nerve, right? Representing the 6th hour. Okay, so the crucifixion takes place during both the microcosm in man, and the macrocosm physically in the universe, like I told you. So these two crucifixions happen in the cosmics, the universe, the cosmic crucifixion, and then the one that happens within inside of us. Now, our biblical information that we have today came from the Dark Ages or the Middle Ages of Europe. Okay, they say we do not see the original intent of the Greek translation in religion that were effectively the government in the times of Christ, which had much more power over the masses, as do some religious countries today, like Iran. Now, here's the thing. They talk about at the base of the skull, there are the olivary bodies, right? Or simply olives. The Latin word is oliva or olivae. That's singular and plural. And the pair are prominent oval structures in the medulla oblongata at the lower portion of the brain stem. They look like olives. For those of you who eat olives, this is what they look like. I'm going to show them to you because it's real crazy. Hope you can see that. Let me see if I can zoom in. These two green things right here. Okay? Now, so then it goes on to say, now listen to this, because I told you all this before on my other channel. Some of you may remember. Okay, so in Zechariah 14:4, it says, and his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives, which is before Jerusalem on the east, and the Mount of Olives. Now, as the energy rises, this is what this means. As the energy rises up the spine, the Kundalini energy, it hits a structure called the olivary, or I think that's how you pronounce it, olivary body, prior to the pineal gland, or the third eye. Now, as we have said many times, the east is the right side of the brain, which is the spiritual side. The two thieves are very significant in the process of the crucifixion. Do you remember the two thieves? Remember, when Jesus was on the cross, there was a thief on the left and a thief on the right. He said to one of them, this day you shall be with me in paradise. Now, the two thieves, I want you to think about this. You shall be with me in paradise. Does anyone know why he would tell the thief, you shall be with me in paradise? I'm going to give you more information first. The thieves, no, I'm not going to tell you that, because then you'll know. Okay, so I'm going to tell you like this. Is anyone, the east side is the spiritual side, the right side, right? So does anyone know why he told the thief, you shall be with me today in paradise? Anyone know? I'm going to tell you why he said that. Because the two thieves, they represented a pair of eyes. They represent the eyes. Okay? Now I'm going to explain that to you. But he said paradise, that was symbolic of a pair of eyes. Okay? The two thieves are physical eyes, whereas Christ is the single eye. And that's why he was between the two thieves. There was a thief on either side of him. Christ was in the middle. He was represented in this allegory, the third eye. There is a common term. It is said to say, are our eyes deceiving us? You've heard that term, right? Are my lying eyes deceiving me? Are my eyes playing tricks on me? When you say those things, that's why you call these two people who were beside him thieves, because they represented a pair of eyes. And the eyes are thieves because they steal from you, right? You think you saw something and you didn't see exactly what you thought. And they say the eyes are deceiving you, like thieves, like they're taking something from you, right? That's why in order to really see things for what they truly are and to see people for who they truly are, you have to be looking with this eye, the third eye. Now, we think they are showing us the truth, but they're not. The eyes often deceive us. Things aren't always what they seem, right? So the two thieves must be crucified. Why do they need to be crucified? They need to be crucified so that the single eye, which is represented by Christ in the middle, so that the single eye can see. Okay? Thank you, Howard. Howard says, big facts, queen. Now, with that all being said, there is a scripture in the Bible that says, and I've told you this scripture before. There's a scripture in the Bible that says, if thy eye be single, then thy body is full of light. If thy eye be single, then thy body is full of light. Now, I told you before, or just told you, that you have to crucify the two thieves, and then you have Christ left in the middle. He's representing the third eye. So he's the single eye. And then the body is full of light. Don't they say that Jesus was the light, the truth, and the salvation? So Jesus was the light. But also, if you remember, when I told you about how you activate the pineal gland with the Kundalini energy, I told you that you're illuminated on the inside, right? So if thy eye be single, then thy body is full of light. Why is the body full of light? Because you've been illuminated. I told you when the energy from the colostrum, or the oil from the colostrum, goes down the 33 vertebrae of the spine, goes to the tip of the spine, grabs the energy from the solar plexus, which has the same exact energy as the sun in the sky. That's why it's called solar plexus, solar energy, right? So it grabs that energy, it goes back up the spine, stops at the sacral plexus first, then travels up the 33 vertebrae of the spine, which is symbolic of why Jesus died at the age of 33. Then it travels up and it goes across the vagus nerve. It goes around and then it stops and touches the optic thalamus, which literally looks like an eyeball in the center of your head. I told you, I felt mine open years ago. Now I went to the doctor because I thought something was wrong with me. Didn't realize my third eye had literally opened. So it touches the optic thalamus, it opens up, and that activates the pineal gland. All of this is the third eye working. So and then once it touches the optic thalamus, there's like a fluorescent light that goes through your body, touching the heart chakra and all of that, illuminating the heart chakra. And so when that eye is single, that body is full of lights. You have been enlightened. That's why they say, oh, he's enlightened, because they know your third eye is working. It's activated. Have you ever heard somebody say, oh, wait a minute, a light bulb just went off in my head? When somebody thinks of something that's a good thought or whatever, something smart, they come up with an idea and they say a light bulb just went off in my head. That's because you have been enlightened. Okay? Beatzilla said, I did almost the same thing, Queen. Really? Yes. Okay. The third eye has enlightened you. Absolutely. Okay. So now with that being said, so the two thieves are also symbolic of the Ida and the Pingala energy, currents of the spine, and they steal energy. That's why they're called thieves. They steal energy from the central Sushmana, that channel, which carries forth the Kundalini energy to the third eye, thus keeping Christ crucified, and the Kundalini remains coiled at the base of the spine. Christ can be only resurrected when the Kundalini has risen to awaken the higher chakras. Matthew 27:35 says, and they crucified him and parted his garments, casting lots, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet. They partnered my garments among them, and upon my vesture did they cast lots. The hem of his garments, that is representing the hem. The hem of the garment is representing the hippocampus of the brain. Okay? The hippocampus of the brain. Now, in the skull, there is a part of the brain called Amon's horn. Amon's horn. Have you ever heard of that? That's the medical term. Amon's horn. Amon is another name for amen. That's why you say amen when you pray. Amon's horn is spelled Ammon. They also get that from one of the Egyptian pharaohs. Okay? So Amen Ra, right? Okay, so in the book of Revelations, Jesus calls himself Amen. Now, most people don't even know that. But in the book of Revelations, Jesus calls himself Amen. So he is in the skull where the crucifixion takes place. And also in the book of Revelations, there is a reference to a white horse which appears in the sky. Revelation 6:2, it says, and I saw, and behold, a pale white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. Now, being a Greek document that one can easily understand, the Bible is referring to Pegasus, which is the horse with wings. The one and only white horse whose location in the sky, but Pegasus is not limited to the sky. In the body, that's the place of memory. That's called the hippocampus. Now, hippocampus, defined by Stedman's medical dictionary, is the medial margin, the hem of the cortical outer mantle, the garments. That's what it's representing. Touching the hem of his garment. That is really the medial margin, the cortical outer mantle. Now, so in Matthew 27:35, the garment is referring to the hippocampus of the brain. The word hippocampus means seahorse. Now, I want to show you how this actually looks. This is so crazy because it looks literally like a seahorse. Let me enhance that, zoom in so you can see it better. That's a seahorse beside it. Okay, that's a seahorse right there. This is the hippocampus. It looks like a seahorse. That is so crazy, right? Now, Revelation 6:2 says, and I saw and behold, oh, I read that part. Okay, let me skip down. Now it says, thus Pegasus is the white seahorse of Revelation and the white seahorse in the sky. And in addition, the white seahorse of memory that is within you. This is one of the many instances where there is direct correlation between the macrocosm and the microcosm. Okay? Now remember, they said they were casting lots for his robe. You know why they would be casting lots? That means they were gambling. Like it's when you put stones in a bag and you shake it up and you throw it out. It's like shooting craps for some of you hood Negroes, right? It's like shooting craps. You put the stones in a bag, shake it up, and you throw it out on the ground. It's like shooting craps, okay? That's called casting lots. Now, it's gambling. They were gambling for his garment. For the sake of the system that we are willing to gamble, for the sake of the system, some people are willing to gamble with their spirits. Pay attention. What do they say about the Illuminati? What do they say about some of these celebrities? People allege that they sell their souls, right? Don't some people say they sell their souls to get fame and fortune? Now, they're gambling with their spirits. That's what you're doing if you do those things, right? They're gambling with their spiritual path. And this is a way as they're gambling their spiritual path away as the hippocampus is associated with the white horse on which Christ was said to return in the book of Revelation. Okay? Now, Mark 27:50 says, Jesus, when he had cried again with a loud voice, yielded up the ghost. That means the crucifixion has taken place and Jesus is now dead. He gave up the ghost. You've heard people say that when someone died, say, oh, he gave up the ghost. That's why they say that, because when he yielded up the ghost, they said that was the moment that he in fact died. And they go on to say in Matthew 27:51, and behold, the veil of the temple was rent in twain, but from the top to the bottom, and the earth did quake and the rocks rent. Now the veil of the temple was rent. That means it was cut in two. The veil of the temple was cut in half. The rocks were rent. That means the rocks split because the earth shook. So they said when Jesus died, the earth shook. There was an earthquake and the veil of the temple split in half and the rocks were also split. That's how powerful the earthquake was. Now, so I'm going to give you the conclusion, and then I'm going to tell you a couple of other things. Now, in conclusion, the crucifixion allegory part 2, although the above are all allegories, analogies, and whatever you choose to call them, it is intended to show that what happens cosmically in the universe is a reflection of what is going on inside of us, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically. Man is integrated, the integrated part of the universe, and the purpose of a spirit path, a spiritual path, is to reveal how man and the universe are one by direct realization and not just intellectually. I told you we have a direct connection to the universe. We are the only ones who have hair. In fact, our hair is extensions of our central nervous system. They act as antennas. And if you pay attention, you know, locks that many of us wear They wore locks in the Bible. If you're reading the Bible, when it tells you about Samson who had the long hair, his strength was in his hair. Do you know, Black people, that your strength is literally in your hair? This is why you see some Jamaicans whose locks are down to the ground. They're not cutting their hair because your strength is literally in your hair. You see, the longer the hair, the closer your connection to the universe, to the Most High. It's your antennas to the universe. You are more spiritually in tune. Now, let me just say, not everybody with locks. We have people out here with locks and they're in gangs that are killing other Black people. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the people who, you know, are righteous people, the people who are awakened and know who they are and where we came from, and know that we came from kingdoms and dynasties and all of those things. Spiritually in tune people, your strength is in your hair. It gives you mental strength, spiritual strength. I don't mean like physical strength perhaps, but spiritual strength. Okay? And so that is why you see a lot of people who are awakened with natural hair. This is why you see this. And I want you to think about something. When you look at someone who has an afro, what does an afro look like? Just think about that. I'm going to see if I can find some pictures of this. Everyone, please like the video. Like and share the video. Let me see if I can find some images of that on here. Hold on, people. Let me search one more time. Let me do one more search. I know I have some of this stuff somewhere on my Instagram, but I don't have time to look for it right now. Okay, I'll say this. I don't see any on here on Google, but I will say this. If you think about, let's say, a Black person with locks. A Black person with locks, if you spread their hair out, it looks like the tree roots. Let me just see, pull this up. Hold on. Now, this is a palm tree roots. Now, I'm sure you can see the similarities in these palm tree roots and someone's locks. Do you see what I'm talking about? You can see the similarities in our hair and nature. And if you look at someone, a Black person who has an afro, a Black person with an afro, their hair looks like the top of a tree. Did anybody ever notice that? It looks like the top of a tree. Hold on. Marv L says, shout out to the naturals. Thank you. Here's one right here. Someone actually did a picture of it. Now, let me show you. Someone actually drew a picture of it. Hold on. Let me share this one here real quick. And then I have a couple of more things to tell you, and then I'm going to go ahead and close out because it's getting late. Okay. Hold on. That's not what I'm trying to get to. Hold on, people. This is it right here. Now you see that someone actually put a face on this tree. This is literally a tree, but they put a face on it because that's how a black person's afro looks. And that's how a tree looks. Pay attention, right? So that's something that a lot of people don't even notice. So that's why we are directly connected to the universe. Now, with that all being said, I'm going to tell you all a couple more things, right? You know, Maya Angelou, I've heard Tyler Perry saying before, but I think Maya Angelou is the first person I ever heard say it. She said, when someone shows you who they are, believe them, right? Many of people do not take people at face value. Many people don't take people at face value. That's why you end up in relationships or friendships, whether it's platonic or, you know, whatever, or you marry someone or dating someone. This is why you end up with people who are nefarious and egregious and mean you no good, because you don't take them at face value. Some people put on a facade when they first meet you, right? They fool you, and then so you don't know the real them till months down the line. Like my grandmother used to say, people send their representative to meet you, and then 6 months later, when the real them shows up, you're like, who the hell is this? This isn't what I paid for. So, but some people show you themselves right away. And when they show you, even if it's the first time you meet them or later on down the line, nevertheless, whenever they show you the real them, if it's not who you're looking for, not what you bargained for, you need to cut them off right then and there. Why would you stick around? Why would you wait? You may think they're going to change. Well, guess what? Let them go on by themselves and change. And after they change, then maybe you can let them back in. But don't just keep putting up with them and hoping and waiting and wishing for them to change, because people are often showing you exactly who and what they are. And there's a parable. You know, when I talk to my students, I often talk to them in parables, like Jesus did, right? No, but I often talk to them in parables because that's how you can get things across to people who are, you know, have a short attention span or whatever, people who wouldn't grasp the concept of what you're saying. So that all being said, there is a parable about a man. He's wandering through the desert and he sees a rattlesnake, and the snake, it looks like it's sick. It's not crawling. It's not hissing. It's just laying there. So he picks the snake up, being the kind person that he is. He takes the snake back home, and he feeds it, and he makes some herbs and gives it to the snake. And pretty soon he nurses the snake back to health because he loves nature, right? So he likes to breathe life into things and not death. So he nurses the snake back to health. 6 months later, he's lying in bed asleep one day, and the snake slithers over and bites him. And as he wakes up and realizes he's been bitten by the rattlesnake, which is clearly poisonous and venomous, he looks at the snake with a hurt in his heart and tears in his eyes, and he says, why would you do that to me after all that I've done for you? Everything that I've done, why would you do this to me? And the snake says, hell, you knew I was a snake. Okay? So I said all that to say this. When you deal with people that you know are no good, please don't get mad when they screw you over. Just like the girl who didn't pay me for doing her work, though I gave her the work before I got my money. I didn't get mad with her. I got mad at myself because I knew I shouldn't trust her. You see, I had peeped her game long ago. I had realized that she was just a user. How did I know this? Well, because she suddenly, when she started taking a class with me, she wanted to be best buddies with me and my friend Rocky. Why did she want to be friends with us? Because we had the highest grades in the class and we were good friends. So she would hang out with us, come and study with us and all of that. Ask us for answers when we're taking tests and we give them to her. I'm just saying. And she'd only call me when she wanted something. She didn't just call me just to talk or see how I'm doing. 9 times out of 10, anytime she called me, she wanted something. But me being the nice person that I was just, still cool with her. But I knew who she was. So I should never have given her the paper. That's why I was mad at myself. So when you know someone is no good, take them at face value. Don't give them second chances. Don't give them benefits of doubts, because you will lose every time. Another thing I want to tell you is this. There's a poem, and I want anyone who has heard this poem before to please put a 1 in the chat. There's a poem called The Cookie Thief. And when I do my motivational speaking, I usually recite this poem to them, right? Does anyone know this poem, The Cookie Thief? So anyway, she wasn't doing the work. No, she wasn't. Everybody's putting 2, so nobody knows it. Okay, so listen. I'm going to tell you this poem, and then I'm going to explain it to you. The Cookie Thief. A woman was waiting at an airport one night with several long hours before her flight. She hunted for a book in the airport shops, then bought a bag of cookies and found a place she could drop. She was engrossed in her book, but happened to see that a man sitting next to her, as bold as could be, grabbed a cookie or 2 from the bag in between, which she tried to ignore so she wouldn't cause a scene. So she munched the cookies and watched the clock as the gutsy cookie thief diminished her stock. She was getting more irritated as the minutes ticked by, thinking, if I wasn't so nice, I would blacken his eye. With each cookie she took, he took one too. When there was only one left, she wondered what he'd do. With a smile on his face and a nervous laugh, he took the last cookie and broke it in half. He offered her half as he ate the other. She snatched it from him and thought, oh, brother, this guy has some nerve, and he's also rude. While he didn't even show any gratitude. She had never known when she had been so galled, and sighed with relief when her flight was called. She gathered her belongings and headed to the gates, refusing to look back at the thieving ingrates. So she boarded the plane and sank in her seat. Then she sought her book, which was almost complete. As she reached in her baggage, she gasped with surprise. There was her bag of cookies right in front of her eyes. If mine are here, she moaned in despair, the others were his, and he was trying to share. Too late to apologize, she realized with grief that she was the rude one, the ingrate, the thief. So she had her cookies, and all the time she was looking at him with a side eye and getting more upset and irritated, thinking he's got the nerve to be eating my damn cookies without even asking. And then he took the last one and broke it in half. And she was so ticked off. Let me tell you something. You know what? This is all to say that we don't always see things for what they really are. Sometimes we question people's motives, and we think people are being shady or slighting us, when in fact, they're being kind. Let me give you another story, and this is a true story. This happened yesterday, right? Okay, this happened yesterday to this man that I'm dating. So he went on a business or entrepreneur meeting, right? And so there were, some entrepreneurs there, whatever, and there was like 5 females and just him and another guy. So they ordered food. They'd gone out, to dinner or whatever. So they ordered food. And when the bill came, everybody's looking around like who's going to pay for what? You know how people get when the bill comes, right? So he got up and excused himself. So the women, they're thinking he got up and excused himself because he doesn't want to pay the bill. But he silently goes over and pays for everybody's. And then he comes back and sits down, and he doesn't tell them that he paid. He doesn't say anything. He just comes and sits back down. And so the waitress comes back over and asks, does anyone want a drink or anything, whatever, a dessert or whatever. And so one of the females, she says, well, I'll go ahead and take care of the bill. And she says, oh no, the waitress says, oh no, he already paid for it. The guy right there, he already took care of it. So everybody's looking so shocked because they thought that he got up and excused himself because he didn't want to pay. Things are not always what they seem. And sometimes when people are doing something nice and kind, suspicious minds will think they're up to something nefarious. Okay? So I just wanted to leave you all with that. And so I'm going to go ahead and conclude this broadcast. I would like to thank you all for tuning in once again. And make sure you like and share the video. Broken Silence says D. Thank you. Thank you. So please make sure you share the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. And also, don't forget to tune right back in tomorrow at 9 a.m. for your morning wake-up call. I wish you all love, peace, and prosperity. And until next time, family, I will talk to you all again soon.